All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. As we could see here, guys, we had a glorious close to the day for the bulls. We did close up at the highs. We had a little opening dip. And as we could see, we got bought up. We closed right there next to the highs, guys. What do you think I'm going to say next, guys? I'm not gonna beat around the bush this video. I'm gonna tell you this market wants to continue pushing higher. That is what we have in store. Pullbacks for the time being until proven otherwise are going to be buying opportunities. Buy in QQQ as well as the MAGS ETF, the MAG 7 stocks. Like, guys, they're gonna freaking explode. We're gonna rip. All right, we pulled back here, found buyers off the 200 DMA. I get called the permabull in the comments. I'm just gonna tell you right now, I play it both ways. I call it both ways. I give you guys the bearish and the bullish scenarios every single video. If you guys are finding value in the videos, which if you're an actual trader, I know for a fact, all right, there's no other YouTube channel. There's no other channel like this on YouTube. I will give you everything you need to succeed in these markets. I'll give you the levels on SPY and QQ. I'll tell you the bullish and bearish, the triggers, the targets. Okay, we go over the MAG 7 stocks. I give you guys plenty of trade ideas to go off of every single week. If you want to be profitable in this market, you want to know where the money is moving, this is your channel. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you're getting alerted when we put out these videos. Sometimes they vary in times, but I'm telling you right now, it's a one-stop shop for you making money in this market. All right, let's go over the levels, guys. I think it's pretty obvious the market does want to push higher. I'm just going to show the MAGS ETF for the time being here. All right, right now, Tesla, NVDA. Yeah, I mean, Tesla and NVIDIA, they're leading the way right now. I think Amazon, Meta are really set up to go. I'm just going to quickly flash these charts here. We're going to go over them in detail after we go over the levels on SPY and QQQ. All right, but let's just take a look at, we'll start off with our big boy Tesla over here, guys. We got the breakout above 354.99 today. And from this point on, guys, the next target is going to be 373.04. And then we have the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level right there at 383.75. We can see how in the weekly time frame, guys, this thing looks like it can expand all the way up here. I do think we're about to be testing 380 to 400 here in the short term. All right, I will actually just also take the time over here to point out that you have had someone loading the absolute freaking boat over here on Tesla's whatever it's called, Tesla's 718 calls. And I'm just saying, they're just continuing to load up these strikes, okay? They started with the 440s over here on Friday. What did they bring it to today, guys? 470s, 450s, 480s, all right? Like, they are continuing to load the freaking boat over here on the July expiration. Whether someone knows something or whether they're just going off of these charts, I am in full agreement with them. This thing is ready to rumble. It's ready to rip. 380 to 400 incoming. So this is leading the MAG 7 stocks higher. Well, let's take a look at NVIDIA over here, guys. And NVIDIA, buddy boy over here, reporting earnings tomorrow after the bell. Guys, we don't know what's going to happen off those earnings. I'm just going to say right now, probably going to beat the earnings. We are rallying our absolute butt off into it. They're going to need to increase guidance pretty heavily over here. It's not obvious that they're going to beat earnings, but they have a history of beating these earnings. But I will point out that they have sold, this is 1 over there, this is 2 over there you sold, this is 3 over here you sold. Before that, you were in a cycle of every single earnings is pumping you for a while, okay? Doesn't mean we're going to sell like the last 3 earnings over here, but I am just pointing out we don't know the outcome to this event over here. I'm going to point out how I think things are set up going into it, but as far as what comes after, I really have no idea. I will tell you guys right now, though, we did have VIX calls start getting loaded today over here, $1.68 million on 618 20 strikes. Current price is currently 18.95 over here on VIX. Yeah, 18.95. All right. I'm just gonna say, guys, I know I'm jumping around here. Stay with me, bear with me over here. VIX, guys, it's getting crushed. It's likely going to be taking out this low over here, and it will probably put in, you know, a new set of divergences if I had to take a guess at it. All right. Combine this with what we have cooking over here on SPY, on QQQ, on the MAGS ETF I just pointed out, on all of the MAG 7 stocks, on the semiconductors right now. You see how AVGO is set up over here, SMH. Okay, like everything looks ready to freaking rumble right now. It's going to take a mega bearish surprise catalyst here to really wipe this thing out, okay? You know, I think what VIX over there, you know, a big buyer is stepping in over there for, you know, not the 620 expiration, but 2 days before a major OPEX there. Yeah, someone is, you know, that's either just going to be a hedge because, you know, we're obviously ripping faces over here, or, you know, someone is actually thinking that VIX is going to be spiking beforehand. And I'm just telling you, yeah, it's very possible. You know, I think personally we're going to continue higher. I don't know if NVIDIA's event is going to tank us or anything like that, but I personally think it's very likely that at least for the coming trading sessions, we're probably going to continue higher. But, you know, I am very open to seeing, you know, a drastic pullback, maybe all the way back down here. And then maybe we go something like that. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just pointing out someone is starting to load the VIX. And typically when I see someone start loading up the VIX, that is just a warning sign for the weeks to come. It does not usually mean that we're going to see the thing start spiking the next day, but it is something to keep in the back of your mind. But if we actually just look at the technicals over here on VIX, I think it's likely that we're going to be crushing under here. We're losing the 200 here. We rejected the 21 EMA here on the daily time frame 2 days in a row, and now we're selling through that, you know, major 1964 level as of today. We're watching. Again, if you are new to the channel, just hit that subscribe button so you and the notification bell so you stay updated on when we're releasing these. I will give you every single thing you possibly need to know about these markets around the clock every single week here in these videos. If you are willing to just spare a little of your time here, you're going to have everything you need to pull some money out these markets on a consistent basis. Okay. You know, but yeah, I'm just kind of piecing the puzzle together over here. I'm pointing out that, yeah, everything looks like it's going to continue exploding higher. VIX over here, I know we have, you know, that big call order coming in there. But at the end of the day, this does look like it's probably going to take out this low before seeing a spike. All right, so that is something to keep in the back of your head. Those, you know, that big call order there on VIX we just pointed out. But I also just want to say it is so freaking obvious that the market wants to skyrocket, guys. All right, we're gonna go over SPY and QQ here, and then we're gonna take a look at the MAG 7 stocks in more detail. We'll go over some levels, go over some trade plans there for you guys. All right, but on the upside, you know, you closed out with a massive hammer candlestick today. On the upside, we are going to be talking 591.31, 592.58, 594.05, 595.54, and then we have this big spot 598.51. All right, up here, this is where I say, you know, I won't be surprised to see some nonsense go up on here. I don't think we're just going to march our way back up to all-time highs. I'm definitely open to it, considering, you know, the look we have over here. I think we definitely can get another leg up, and we could see this thing test 55.83 over here. All right, but, you know, I'm just going to say we're going to take things as we go. Things are insanely bullish right now. We can pull back once we're at these upper levels, but in the short term, you know, it's very obvious we should be looking to buy these dips until proven otherwise, okay? Like, you know, we should be looking for higher prices, okay? But that's what you're watching on the upside on SPY. On the downside, you have 589.60, 586.62, 581.81, and then we have the 200 DMA, which is right around 575.60. You don't want to revisit this area. You don't even want to revisit 581.81. That gap actually was not filled. So I know it shows that it's filled over here in TradingView. It was not. This was a massive, you know, ghost looking wick over here that happened intraday. I hit my alerts. I'm like, oh, guys, SPY's rolling over. And then I looked. It was not rolling over. All right. But, you know, this thing is very likely, you know, even though it didn't actually come all the way back down here, this thing is very likely going to continue pumping, okay? This was a strong close across the board we got. Now, coming over here to QQQ on the upside, above 521.95, which that was, you know, that was the target once we broke out from, I'll just point it out over here. Okay, once we took out pre-market high over here at 518.38, there was 518.43. There was nothing until we came all the way up here to 521.95. So that was where I was thinking it was going to act as a magnet. I'm just going to say after all of this, you know, consolidation / rejection here, you pulled back, got your reversion to the mean. Now you have new buyers in the mix. Probably is going to be enough buyers to really bust you up through here, okay? So above 521.95, we're watching this next zone, 525.97 to 527.92. Expect sellers in there. If you get above 527.92, we're watching 532.10 to 533.82. I don't think you're just going to march right through both of these zones right here. I think one of them is probably going to hold, and we will have sellers stepping in. Whether that just be a brief little pullback like that to retest your breakout area, you know, I could definitely see something like this considering there are so many sell orders sitting over here. Clear as day supply. Now you got the new buyers into the mix, probably enough to take out this area. And then once we do that, you know, I would not be surprised to see price just pull back. You know, guys, we have a constant market auction. When stuff flip from supply into demand, the market likes to test that and just confirm that before moving higher. That is why, you know, we continuously go up and down, up and down. We don't go straight up. Why? Because the market continuously is just searching for liquidity. It's continuously searching for those buyers or searching for the sellers on the downside. That's why, you know, you're selling, boom. All right, you reach down here. You don't have people willing to sell it down here, so you have to give it the pop to bring new sellers into the mix, okay? And that's the same concept over here. So don't expect just to march right through these things. If you do march right through 527.92, expect the sellers to step in 532.10 to 533.82, and then we probably are at least going to retest the zone, if not get something larger like that. All right, so that's what we're watching on the upside over here on QQ. On the downside, all right, on the downside, I know it's pretty far off. All right, but you are just going to be paying attention to 517.71, 514.59, which was today's low, and then you have 511.84, which is now going to be our gap. All right, so that would be a gap fill if tested. I personally don't think we're going to come back down here. It would not be the best look to come back down there, but nonetheless, it would be right there at the golden pocket. Either way, I don't think it's a good look to come in here. You want this to hold as a bull gap. And you want to push up off of this, okay? We pointed out on the weekly update over here, guess what? We closed out with a green candlestick after we gapped down. It reminded me of these, you know, occurrences right over here. Oh, you gapped down, closed out with the green candlestick like that. All right, just like that, just like that, just like that over there. You know, most of the time we get these looks, guys, we tend to just pivot off of these things, which is why, you know, even though I didn't know President Trump was just going to pump the market over the weekend with the EU news, I had no idea, okay? I had no idea. I did know how these charts were set up coming into the weekend. And yeah, I mean, you know, the charts, they're just going to come before the news. A lot of the times, guys, we get lucky. But the only reason we get lucky is because we are in the right spot at the right times. That's why we get lucky sometimes. Actually, more often than not, we get lucky. That's that. All right, but that's what you're watching over there in SPY and QQ. We're just going to come over here to the MAG 7 stocks, guys. You know, before we take a look at these, I'm just going to highlight MAG's ETF right here, MAGS. This is literally only has the Magnificent 7 stocks, and we're talking Tesla, Amazon, Meta, NVDA, Apple, Google, Microsoft, okay? We don't have anything else in this. This is straight up, you know, just to combine some of these guys. Getting ready to really rip freaking faces, okay? Some of these are underneath this high right here. Some of them, like Tesla, are above this high. This is the sum of them. This is the total, okay, of how they are actually moving. We're going to start off with Tesla here, guys. You already are up to 367.50 in the after hours session. I don't know what you're in the overnight session now. But next stop, guys, above today's high, 363.79. We're watching 373.04. And then we have the 0.618 fib at 384, or 383.73. Above there, we're watching 401.34. That is going to be this gap left open right over there, which is going to make that a green level, okay? And that is going to become that next target, all right? And that's going to be over there, guys. So we got Tesla going on. We're going to come over here to Amazon. What happened? All right. So this was on the focus list coming this week. And this was a picture perfect break and retest off of this upper trend line here. You got the wedge breakout and now above 206. You hit TP1 above 206.21. We're talking 208.85 and then 211.93. I do think 216.20 is incoming on this next leg up though. But you know, this looks absolutely immaculate over here on the weekly time frame. If this weekly candle can just expand up here, Yeah, we're getting a monster mover over here on Amazon. Coming over to Meta, this is, you know, honestly, Amazon, Meta, these are the two I'd be focused on aside from Tesla. These are the ones that haven't ran, but they're definitely set up to do so. Meta specifically, I'm watching for the break above 641.86 tomorrow. Maybe we gap up, maybe retest that, you know, in the morning and then pivot up higher off of that. Regardless, this thing I think is getting ready for, we're talking a $20 to $40 day. It could happen as soon as tomorrow. This is clear as day where you got one rejection, 2, 3, 4. You know, you didn't reject today, but you got 4 rejections. You were consolidating on for a whole week underneath it. And you're just getting tight over here. You can see the picture perfect break and retest here on the 4-hour chart of this wedge, of this bull flag. All right. All it needs to do is pop above 641.86, and this thing is going to have itself a freaking day, boys. 662, 6, and girls. I know we got a few girls out in the audience. Okay, we don't have many. All right, but let me know if you're out there. I see the analytics. So there's that. I know most of you guys are guys. All right. But on the upside, 641.86, I think we can unlock this freaking move up to 662, 67. You know, if you want a little baby level to go on off of in between there, we're talking 646.61. All right. So the trigger level, it's 641.86. But, you know, ideally, if you could just break above 646.61, you're just going to straight up start squeezing up here to 662.67. And I think 675.25 is in the cards in the short term. All right. So that was Tesla, Amazon, Meta. We got NVDA, the big boy, with earnings tomorrow after the bell, guys. We started off the freaking week with a bang. Do not feel the need to push things past, this catalyst that we really don't know the outcome of. We don't know. I'll tell you for a fact, things are set up to rip off of it, but we don't know what's going to happen. I'll tell you right now, if you do pull all the way back here, we're looking to be buyers down there. Maybe not right away. We want to watch and see the reaction over there. But, in reality, you are just going to have a giant head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders pattern here. If you gap down off earnings, pull back off earnings tomorrow after the bell into Thursday, and you come down here 120 to 125, we're looking to be buyers around. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just pointing out, even if you do sell here, we have a bullish scenario to go off of. If you pump, it's already looking pretty crazy bullish. I'm not saying you just pump up the highs here, but if we could just throw earnings out the window here, I think this thing would definitely be breaking up. We'd probably be on our way to 143.44. All right, so that's NVIDIA. Coming over here to Apple, guys. Is it looking all that bad? No, you held exactly where buyers need to hold, 193.25. That was the weekly low. All right, that we were saying, like, you really didn't want to take out at that point. It looks like you're rolling over. Well, what if we print an inside week and then push up next week off of this inside week? That wouldn't be the worst luck to me. Really would not. On the upside, you're just watching 206.75 and then 214.56. Get above there, we're talking the 200 DMA, 225.70. On the downside, you're watching for 198.23 to hold. GOOG, all right? I know you didn't officially get the pullback over here. You got really freaking close on this day over here, guys. You got really close, all right? But then, then you started having this gap and go kind of day today, and all of a sudden, you got your first daily close above the 200-day moving average. From this point on, guys, GOOG is probably going to be pushing up. I know we got this bear flag pattern. We're going to keep it on the chart to see if we can invalidate it, get all the way up here, all right? But, I'm just going to say, you got your 200-day, moving average. It's out of the way. All right, it's out of the way. Next stop, 176.90. Above there, 183.34. Microsoft, the last Mag 7 stock that we're going to be taking a look at, guys. What happened? You started pushing off of last week's, shooting star, gravestone doji style candlestick. It was a bearish candlestick. All right, we're not going to argue over what to call this thing over here, but I'll tell you right now, it was a bearish candlestick. I personally think this thing is going to continue higher up to all-time highs. I think that's where it's headed. I think it's got a date with all-time highs here, 468.35. And I pointed out in the weekly update that, it's either going to have a little pullback and then get bought up, or it's going to do one of these things where it just fades the bearish candlestick and get straight up to all-time highs. Definitely looking like a freaking monster in the making. And yeah, we're about to have an all-time high breakout on our hands. Doesn't mean you're not just going to sweep it like that, pull back into it, and consolidate for a few months, and then push up off it. Does not tell you it's not going to do that, okay? So I really wouldn't be chasing this thing to all-time highs. I'm going to give you some setups at the end of this video, actually right after this, that you're going to be focused on instead of chasing things into all-time highs like this, okay? If you want to come trade with me, guys, I still have the Memorial Day sale up and running. I'm going to close it out tonight at, well, it's going to be around midnight right before I'm going to sleep. That is going to be code Memorial Day, 30% off. Come trade with us. We live trade every single day. And I can guarantee you, you're going to know where the money is moving in the market every single week. You're going to have 2 to 4 clean setups that we can take advantage of. Does not mean we're not going to get more than that, guys. You know, today... Hey, all right, we caught 3 bangers to start off the week. Who's going to complain about that? You know, kind of 4, but TM's not going just yet on us. But I'm going to point out some trade ideas for you, okay? But yeah, that is going to be the link down below. Come join us. We're going to be killing it. And yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, no matter what my execution is, I will always have your eyes where they need to be. You guys can execute on your own, or you could just follow along with me if you are a beginner or a novice trader. All right, but that link is going to be down below. Now, speaking of those trade ideas, let's get into them. Okay, right over here on ARM, guys, I'm just going to say this daily RSI, you're going to see it get above that red line right there. You're going to see it push up to 70, and I'm just going to point out over here, how did that go? Okay, when you actually pushed up into overbought territory, it was on this day right here. Oh, a 15% impulsive ass day? Yeah. All right. Don't mind if I do. Over here, what happened over here? A 7% impulsive move, $10 move right there. And then you sold from there. Well, do you see where that, you know, the daily RSI got up to? Right there. It got right up to 70. All right. I'm looking for that freaking move. What happened over here when it got up to 70? You had this big boy move, $10 move, 8.6% move. What happened over here? Well, you know, it was the first impulsive move of its kind. All right. So that's a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. Technically, you know, we can kind of count this guy right over here. All right. You got a 1, you got a 2, you have a 3, you have a 4, you have a 5 out of 5 occurrences here that this was the outcome. On top of that, you pulled back to the 21 EMA, you held where you needed to. This was the level we outlined, 126.36. You needed to hold right here. Okay, this was your inverse head and shoulders little neckline action going on right here. You retested it, you held it, you pushed up today, almost pushed above 136.15, the previous little high you had going on there. And it looks like this thing is a date with 142.32 in the short term. I know, I'm nuts. It's okay. It's okay to be a little crazy over here. I'm telling you, this setup, it's also going to be a little crazy. All right, we're looking for this thing to get up into overbought territory, and I'm thinking that's going to happen either on a 1 to 2, you know, a little pretty green move here, or we do get that impulsive move that I just showed you guys 5 out of 5 times. That is what got you into overbought territory over here on the daily RSI. We did not get into overbought territory over here. We did not push 70. We turned down right from it. And now that we saw, you know, what we saw today, okay, it is very likely that we're going to break above 136.15 tomorrow. If not tomorrow, probably the day after that. If not tomorrow, then we probably have an inside day and then push up over it off of NVDA earnings, and we have a gap up on our hands. All right, but above 136.15, you're targeting 142.32, and then you have 150. All right, next one we're going to talk about is actually, you know what? We're going to skip this one for now. We're going to come over here to the next chip stock, try and keep it organized over here. AVGO. You want to gamble on NVIDIA earnings? You're going to use AVGO. AVGO, 245C. They're going for $1.50 right now. They're going to go 3 to 4x there if they get in the money, close to that 4x number. 225 puts. They're going for about $1 right now. Those are also going to go 4x on you if they get into the money by not tomorrow, but the day after. Okay, so if you're taking them tomorrow, all right, that's what you're looking at. You just need to see a $10 move over here in AVGO. I know I'm saying just a $10 move as if it's small. I know it's a pretty big move over here, but I'm telling you for a fact, this thing is set up to freaking move. Okay, this thing is, I don't think it's doing like what it did over here. You just got your daily close above 235.28. That was the range high over here. And yeah, this thing looks like it's ready to just about break up. You do have earnings coming in next Thursday. So next week's premiums are pumped. I'm just going to say right now, the IV on those contracts, they're going to keep going up. 245C for next Friday. You get those into the money this week. They're going 100% for you. And also, you know, I'm just going to say the contracts, in case they do trade it flat one of these days, they're probably going to hold their own. They're going to hold their value. IV is going to continue pumping into the earnings event there. So that is a trade idea for you. And if I was to gamble on NVIDIA earnings tomorrow, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I probably definitely won't. It's going to be over here with AVGO. And specifically on the long side, I'd be doing so. All right, so that's AVGO. Next one we're talking about is TEM. All right, so TEM had this little, you know, flag action going on, pulled back, reverted to the mean to the 21 EMA here. And as we saw, we had the bullish engulfing candlestick, and then you pushed and you gapped above, and then you pushed above 66.42. Unfortunately, you did not get your daily close above 66.42, but I think this sell is probably something like this. It's going to turn out being a fake out. Or something like this, where you start going, you look like you're going to go, but you have one of these, and then the next day you end up fading that whole upper candlestick or the upper wick there. And, you know, we very well can pop above 68.95 tomorrow and start pushing for 71.97. Above 71.97, I think 77 comes very quick. That's the top boundary of this range we're in right there. So I think that is something that is about to take place, and that is something that I am interested in. Weekly chart looks very nice as well, as long as you don't really come back down here. You don't really want to see price come back down here. Ideally, we are going to push through $72 this week, 71.97. And then if we're getting this thing moving and grooving, 77, next stop, 80 psych level, 85, 91.45. All right, so that's TEM. Of course, I already highlighted Tesla. You know, this is definitely my favorite setup right now. This is definitely something that, oh, it's going to be hype, boy. It's going to be hype. There's that. But yeah, this thing looks like it is probably going to hit 373.04 tomorrow, if not 384. Okay, next one we're talking is Bros. Okay, so Bros over here, I'm just going to point out, I pointed out this in the weekly update. This is PLTR 3.0. Okay, not 2.0, because Hood was PLTR 2.0. You see where I marked that arrow right there? Okay. Well, just focus right here. Look on this thing. Okay, so that's Hood. We saw what happened after. Well, that's PLTR. We saw what happened after. You want to see what Bros looks like right now? You have this guy. You pushed up to this key resistance just like you have on Hood and PLTR, and you consolidated there. Okay? Now, if we could push through this high, like this thing is probably going to have the same exact reaction we saw on those charts over there. I'm not sure if we get a better entry on these. I'm really not sure. I personally got a half position going on here. I was hoping to get the better entry. I was actually waiting to see if we got the gap down today, because on PLTR, yeah, you had this week and then you gap down. You actually swept that low of the week there. And then you can see the same exact pattern here on Hood, which you also gap down, swept the low of that candlestick, and then pushed up and closed with the bullish engulfing candlestick. Bros did not gap down this week, so it is, of course, obviously not going to be exactly like that. And for that reason, I don't think we're going to come back down here. If you do come back down to 64.28, that is a bad look. You don't even want to revisit this area, okay? You just pushed up strongly off of it. It would be much better to continue grinding higher off of this than to come back down here, okay? But above 71.78, I'm just going to point out this is where you got rejected right there. Sellers, and then boom, you had one false breakout day, and then boom, you got sucked back down the next day. All right, so 71.78, that's the key level we're going to be paying attention to, and above there, 73.93 is really going to be that next trigger level, and then we have a next leg up on our hands. Okay, so that's Bros. Next one we're talking is going to be Rivian. Okay, so Rivian over here, guys, I gave it to you guys before the breakout above 14.45. I'm giving it to you guys right now on the retest. Not quite back at that level yet. It can happen tomorrow, but the retest of the upper trend line on this massive pennant. All right, so this is the big weekly base that I pointed out. We haven't seen something like this come about. We just haven't seen it yet on this ticker. Normally when we see these things develop, yeah, it is in a large, massive reversal, like a bottoming reversal process. Sometimes these things could take like 1 to 2 years to really break out of these things. We don't know. I'm telling you right now, this thing's got momentum behind it. I know it's pulling back right now, but it very easily can get bought back up. So I'm putting it back on your radar right over here. It didn't test 1445 and hit my alert, but it did retest this trend line pretty much to the T today, and you found buyers off that and then closed back above 1534. You see the reaction right there, reaction, 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 reaction. And oh, look at that, another reaction. Now, if we can take out today's high, 1598, that is, you know, that next trigger level here. That's where I think we're probably just going to start pushing back up. So from there, we're going to target 1665, 1715. And then at that point, yeah, this thing is very likely going to just head straight up to 1886. Then we're talking the $20 psych level. All right, so that's Rivian. Aside from that, guys, we're talking Oklo. All right, Oklo, I gave it to you guys last week before it actually happened over here. And then we had the big overnight gap up. So there was that. But I am just going to say, I think this thing is going to take out 5914. I think it's very likely going to be doing so. And I understand it's not there yet. But yeah, we had the biggest volume day ever come in on Friday. And as we could see, the dip today just got bought up. I think it's very likely going to continue higher. If it pulls back, it's a buying opportunity. But, you know, I will not be surprised in the slightest. And it's actually what I'm expecting for this weekly candle to extend above 59.14. At that point, I think we're going to head to 70 to 80 bucks here on this next little leg up within those next 1 to 2 weeks after breaking that 59.14 level. Okay, so that's what I'm paying attention to. Over here on Carvana, right? So this is one I gave to you guys in the weekly update. You had this little bull flag setup if the market was going to continue favoring bulls, and this is probably something that's going to start ticking up. All right, you did end up breaking above 311.88 today on increasing volume. I know it's still relatively low volume from what we saw over here, but you know it take the volume out of the equation, and yeah, this setup looks really great over here, guys. So I do think we're still headed to 320, 330 over here in the short term here on Carvana. Aside from that, we have Piton. I told you guys, you know, I give you guys everything you need to be profitable in this market for you to pull your money out this market. It's up to you to execute. If you want to come execute with me, obviously, you know, you could just join the Discord and I will help you out. I'll do everything I can to do so. All right. But at the end of the day, I definitely give you guys, you know, everything you really need to make money in this market on a consistent basis in these videos. Okay, do not take them for granted. I don't know why we're so underrated here on YouTube, but I can guarantee eventually we will take off. I'll just keep making my videos and I'll keep doing my thing, and eventually the YouTube algorithm has to pick us up. There are some larger accounts that, oh baby, they give you nothing, and for some reason people eat that shit up. I'm not a hater. I'm a realist. And yeah, there are a bunch of scammers here on YouTube, these larger accounts that they do not have the proven record, definitely not to the extent that I got over here on this channel. And they definitely do not give their audience for absolutely no cost to them nearly as much as I do 5 days a freaking week. All right, Piton over here, give it some time, guys. Maybe it retests 724. Monthly, weekly, daily charts. They're monsters, okay? They can easily start gaining momentum here, all right? But right now, you know, you just had this little breakout. You just engulfed these 3 weeks, okay? All 3 weeks here, this whole range, you engulfed all in one go, all right? You had a, you know, big 2 days over here on the daily chart as well to make that happen. This thing is just digesting that little move up. Wait for it. Maybe it retests 724. Maybe it doesn't. Above 780, we're talking 849. That's going to be where that 0.618 fib is. I think that is coming in the short term this week or next week. Last two right here. Rocket Lab, guys, started moving and grooving today. I pointed out here, you know, I've been pointing out, I think all-time highs is incoming over here. That's why I got my alert over there. All right, I was playing this one. I let it go. This thing is absolutely freaking exploding the week after I saw my calls over here. But yeah, this thing looks like it is going to be pushing up the highs. I think it is doing, this is what I pointed out in the weekly update. I think it's doing one of these guys over here, and you just got to let the momentum build. It's probably going to keep pushing. Okay, so that's Rocket Lab. The last one I am going to put on your radar is going to be CrowdStrike. All right, so CRWD, this thing, I put it on your radar before today. Closed out last week right here next to all-time highs, 455.59, right on that level. yeah, it's very likely going to be continuing above there this week. And yeah, now we are continuing to push. You have earnings next Tuesday. But if you see a pullback over here this week specifically, I'm not telling you guys to play it next week into earnings. I'm telling you guys, if you see a pullback here in the short term, look for buyers to defend for 55, 59. If you want to just play for some continuation, just understand it is a relatively risky move over there. But I will say over here, you know, the bulk of this range happened in, all right, that's a $30 price range, okay? Yeah, we didn't move that much yet, okay? So I still think we're probably going to push 485 here this week, all right? So that could be something that you're looking forward to. But, you know, at the end of the day, I just gave you so many trade setups here that are so much less risky than this, so I don't think people should really be focused on this one. Just my honest opinion, right? If I was to focus on any of these, which I am focused on, you know, a good amount of these right here, we're talking Tesla, we're talking Bros, we're talking TEM, all right, and Mag 7 as a whole, all right, this Mags ETF, that tells me, start watching Meta over here. Watch for that nice, you know, we're talking $20 to $40 a day right here. The thing can freaking pay. We're talking Amazon. I am not talking Apple. I am not talking Google. There we go. The hiccups. It's not a Henry video over here without the freaking hiccups. It's really not. Microsoft, am I telling you to chase this thing into all-time highs? No. I just point out Tesla has been consolidating. Just start breaking up over here. This thing's freaking moving and grooving already. All right. So, you know, really, I would watch out of the Mag 7 stocks. You want some clean setups to watch that haven't gone yet. Take Tesla off the radar. Start watching Amazon. Start watching Meta. These things both had picture-perfect break and retest off the upper trend line of their wedges. All Meta needs to do is break above 641.86. You could take a lighter entry there. Take the full entry above 646.61. You're very likely going to see this move right here. All right, only risk what you're willing to move. It is up to you to design your trade. Where are you going to risk? I am just the one giving you the actual ideas over here for no cost to you in these videos. Amazon over here, guys, above 206.21. Guess what? The thing could really move. I'm just going to mark a new level over here. This is what you're going to be paying attention to over here on Amazon. We'll make it the blue trigger level right there, above 206.85. You're looking for the test of 208.85. That is going to be your gap fill right here. And then above there, 211.93 and then 216.20. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please remember to leave a like so we can pump our freaking stock here on the channel and get it to the YouTube algorithm. I really appreciate you guys. I think you guys are pretty great. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a lovely rest of their night. I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Oh, also, Etha, before I go, just one last thing. Boom, bop, bing, boo, pow. Boom, bop, bing, boo, pow. This thing looks like a monster in the making. It could be about to make its move. This is just the FUSD, which is going to be this guy over here. You're bullishly consolidating right underneath the 200 DMA. We're probably about to snap up. Something to keep on your radar if you would like. All right. Aside from that, guys, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.